YouTube. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Anna Bella, and today I am reviewing Netflix's remake of The Boys in the Band, which came out in 2020. It's written by Mark Crawley, and it is basically his reflection on his own personal life experiences. His therapist wrote him a note saying well done after he had written this play. This play came out in the 1970s. The play is actually set in 1968 in New York, and it's Certificate 15, the 2020 film, because there is a play, there is also a 1970s film, and this particular cast also performed it as a play in New York, and Netflix took it up and decided that they would make it a movie because it is a really, really important play. For lots and lots of reasons. The drama and tension and the interpersonal relationships in this film is phenomenal. Never has a birthday party had so much drama contained in it. And even if you are not particularly interested in LGBT issues, this play is, oh my goodness, it sucks you in. It is really, really well written. From a writing perspective, it is phenomenal. Basically, the premise is Michael, who's a gay man living in New York, and he's an out gay man, but he's not comfortable with his sexuality at all. But he's also Roman Catholic, which is not unusual because, as we know, Robert Mapplethorpe was Catholic, and so was our Andy Warhol. Whether they were practicing or not is neither here nor there. But there is this thing in LGBT back in the day, because remember this is set in 1968, so people's lives weren't as open as they are today, because same-sex marriage wasn't a thing. There was a lot of anti-gay laws, particularly in America and various places around the world, and still are in some places. So just because we have an open, free-flowing society in the UK and various other Western countries doesn't necessarily mean that other people do currently. But back to the play. I have resisted so far in drawing an interpersonal relationship chart, because basically Michael is throwing a party for Harold because it's his birthday. He's turning 32, which is a bit of an issue, and he invites the same, he calls them sad fairies, that have been around since year dot, to come and celebrate in an open way. Unfortunately, another college friend of Michael's called Alan is in town having some kind of crisis, but we're not quite sure what the crisis is, and he turns up at this party and is completely sort of at a loss, because we're not quite sure, is he a closet homosexual, is he heterosexual, we just don't know. And there is the best scene in all of the world, is the telephone. Because Michael, they have the cake, they have the dancing, they have, it's just full of these little moments, the cake, the food, the bitchy comments, it's perfection. Michael and Harold's relationship is also complicated because they are what is termed, we would term them frenemies, but actually they were probably ex-lovers, or they probably are still lovers that just can't commit because of Michael's issues around his sexuality. But moving on, this is set before the AIDS crisis, I'm just putting that out there, and the telephone scene is OMG so shocking. Michael suddenly decides that this is the party game that they're going to play. They are going to phone the one person that they love, and the fallout, poor Bernard, I just feel so. And what's great about this play is not all of the characters are white. Bernard is a black librarian from the South, and that at the time, you know, is really, really good. This is why this play still holds up, because it looks at the LGBT perspective from more than just the white gay man. And in fact, all of the different characters within this have it slightly different, because there's one character that's a teacher that's left his wife for his new gay lover, who just can't seem to commit to him. There's all sorts of different relationships going on here, and there's almost sort of a fight between two of the gay characters over Michael, quietly. It's really fascinating. It's got many facets. It's like a gemstone that every time you turn it or every time you watch it, something new is revealed. It is so beautifully done, like layers of a beautifully smelling onion that you just peel, and you want to know more. And that is the high bar of a writer. Never mind about the LGBT stuff. That isn't what we are the main focus. The main focus is the interpersonal relationships of these men. And that is incredibly clever. It really is clever. The whole sort of Harold having the charm and Michael having the counter charm, and but there's just so much going on. The soundtrack is beautiful and on point. You can tell that it's been adapted from a play, but actually the Netflix film has expanded and made the set feel bigger in a way. There are some scenes which are verbatim the same, because it's based on the play, you can't really change it, that are verbatim from the 1970s film to the 2021, even though they have not altered things, but they have included a gay kiss, which the 1970s film felt that they didn't need because it was implied anyway at a certain point, which is fine. I don't really, it just adds to the whole thing. It just is a really tender moment that you kind of need to sort of confirm that that's where this relationship is going. But in the 1970s one, they left everything to sort of your interpretation, and so is the relationship between Michael and Harold. Harold is actually based on somebody that Marty knew, one of his friends, for want of better terminology. But it is important that the language that they use is coded. So when they're talking to people that they perceive to be heterosexual, they don't act LGBT. Not that you can, but there's a whole different sort of language used. And when a certain character, Alan, the one heterosexual bloke, supposedly, turns up at the party, is just completely sort of at a loss because it's like two worlds colliding. But you're not really sort of hung up on that. It's the drama and the tension of it. Never has the birthday party caused so much inner conflict between so many people. And you can tell that these men feel safe with each other. They are in each other's safe space, so they're open and free to do this. But oh my goodness, the claws. Anyway, 5 out of 5 for this. I know people have said that the 2020 film is not the same and yada yada yada, but it's really, really good. All of the characters are played by gay men, which is really eye-opening. But I'm loving the fact that Alan is still left ambiguous because you're not quite sure. Is he heterosexual? Is he in the closet? Does he not know? Why was he crying? We still don't have that answer, and that's brilliant. There is a sequel to The Boys in the Band play, and that's sort of like a couple of years down the line type stuff, and people have said that the characters aren't as well developed. They've sort of stayed as they were in Boys in the Band, and the attitude to new gay activists are not altogether welcoming. In fact, some people find them hostile, but that reflects the time. Remember, this is before people's lives were very different. They still had to conceal, even though they were out. I mean, Emery couldn't conceal himself, even if, you know, even if he hid behind a tree, you'd still know that Emery was there being gay. You know, it's sort of like, we know you're gay. You can't hide. There's nothing you can do. You can't even pass. Just give up. Just be you, and you'll be fine. And it's interesting about passing and not passing, and is it purposeful? And Harold's monologue to Michael at the end is phenomenal, because I'm convinced that that's where J.K. Rowling got the always for Snape, 100%. And I'm loving the fact that I also think that Michael and Harold are forerunners of the whole Dumbledore and Gellert thing. But that's just my personal interpretation, because there's a lot of, yeah, the whole counter charm and charm thing going, and yes, there's interesting things there. Yes, iciness, but yet the frozen fruit. Oh, I love Harold. The comfortability various characters with their sexuality, and there are other characters who are sort of like really sort of abrasive to themselves, like they're grating themselves over it, and you really do feel the pain, and it's so refreshing. You wouldn't think it is, but it's still refreshing, and it's still current today, and I think that the more people watch it and appreciate it, can have some of the understanding of the LGBT community. Not that it's all about that, which is kind of strange because it is, but yet you can still enjoy it for just the interpersonal relationships between all of the characters, because it is incredibly compelling drama to watch. The soundtrack's great, cinematography is great, the cast is great, everything is wonderful in this. 5 out of 5. It's fascinating to explore these characters who clearly feel very, very happy being with their friends, and that's worth pointing out, though there is the questionable use of the hustling cowboy. But yeah, that's very 1960s, to be fair, but it's a reflection of that time period and also a reflection of LGBTQ sexuality at this time. But there is a criticism. It is very, yes, even though we've got Bernard, it is very white male gay. I think that it would be very different if it was the girls in the band and a load of lesbians, because that would be interesting. But anyway, moving swiftly on, this play is phenomenal. It is 2 hours and 2 minutes, and yeah, check it out. Brilliant. 5 out of 5. Hope you've enjoyed this review. Please like, comment and subscribe, and don't forget to click the notification bell for my latest video. Bye!